Hello, my name is Mark Miano. I'm our VP of Sales and Partnerships here at Glew, and welcome to Glew Academy. Glew is the most widely used and most successful e-commerce and multi-channel business intelligence system out there. Think about that. We're not just a business intelligence system. We only concern ourselves with e-commerce and multi-channel, meaning we are the experts in using e-commerce and multi-channel data and leveraging that data in order to bring e-commerce and multi-channel businesses to greater profitability day in and day out. This series is meant to help anyone using their data in the e-commerce and multi-channel world become more profitable. Again, I can't stress it enough, profit, profit, profit. There is going to be many videos in this series, but the first video that we're going to cover today is going to be around some standard definitions that will provide us a shared vocabulary so that we get into some of the more complex and layered themes and tactics later on in these videos that we'll know exactly what we're talking about when I say certain words and reference certain concepts. So let's get started. Glew, how successful e-commerce and multi-channel leaders profit from their data. Video 1, definitions. Here are the definitions that we're going to go through today. It might seem like a lot, but just note you can always reference back on this video. We're going to start with COGS in the upper left-hand corner and finish off with configurable in the bottom right-hand corner. COGS, or cost of goods sold. These are the direct costs attributable to the production of goods in a company. Okay, I want you to think of the costs that go into creating one unit of each one of your SKUs. Not the advertising spend, not the salaries, not the rent that you're paying for your office space, but the amount of physical cash it takes to create one of the widgets that you are selling. Gross profit. The definition here will be revenue minus cost of goods sold will equal your gross profit, often referred to as margin. Okay. Now, for the purposes of using Glew, this will be the definition that we're going to use as gross profit. Of course, if you're using gross profit in other areas of your business with investors or whatever, they might use a little bit different of an equation. Net profit. Revenue minus cost of goods sold minus advertising spend will equal net profit. Okay, so just getting closer and closer to true profitability. This will be auto-calculated in the Glew.io software as a service product. Average purchase frequency. This is going to be the number of orders in a given time period divided by the number of customers that place those orders in a given time period. Helpful when calculating lifetime value, which we'll get into in a moment. Average order value is going to equal the revenue you pulled in a given time period divided by the amount of orders in that time period. It's the average order size in cash. Thoughts that we'll talk about here are going to be how do we increase average order value with different strategies like cross-selling, upselling, new product launches, innovations, gifting, etc. Lifetime value. The amount of money a customer will spend with a vendor until the customer passes away or the vendor goes out of business. Kind of morbid. I know, but that's the definition, guys. It's all the money you can ever expect from each one of your customers. Now, there is a completely devoted video, I think it's video 2 that's coming up around lifetime value. It's so important. But the equation is going to be the customer lifetime value of a person or set of persons equals the average order value of a person or set of persons multiplied by the average purchase frequency of a person or set of persons. So think of it this way. The more someone buys from you at a time and the more often they buy from you, the more profitable or the more efficient your business is going to become. So we'll talk a lot about lifetime value moving forward, but it'll be helpful to have a standard definition of it and how to calculate it right here in front of you. New customer acquisition costs. It's the amount of money it takes to get a new customer to buy from you. You'll hear this in the Shark Tank a lot, of course, when Mark Cuban and Mr. Wonderful and Lori and the gang are grilling their prospective partnerships before they get into bed with them. But you can calculate this as NCAC equals ad spend divided by new customers acquired. Really, really simple stuff. I think the most important concept underlying this particular metric is that it's way more expensive to buy a new customer than to upsell a current one. So what we're always going to be wanting to think about is your lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio, right? So now that we understand that lifetime value is all the money you can ever expect from a customer of yours, that customer acquisition cost can't be greater than your lifetime value, right? Or you wouldn't be a profitable business. The optimal ratio is going to be 3-to-1, meaning if your LTV is greater than 3-to-1, well, then let's go ahead and maybe try to acquire some more customers, right? If your LTV is lower than 3-to-1, I think it'd be a positive thing to go and upsell and try to upsell the customers you already have than going out and spending extra monies, which is more expensive on buying new customers. So we'll come back to this ratio a little bit later, but a really helpful one to know as a guiding light, if you will, when running your business. Attribution models. The process of assigning sales credit to different touch points in a customer's journey to buy from a store. Think about that. The process of assigning sales credit to different touch points in a customer journey. There are many attribution models, guys. We have an entire video devoted to attribution modeling. You might have heard of a last click attribution model that's in Google Analytics, where the channel clicked right before the order is given sales credit for that order. We'll talk about first purchase attribution modeling. There's I think a one day click, 28-day view attribution model from Facebook, which is pretty generous. So we'll cover them a lot. The purpose of them, though, is to optimize the allocation of advertising monies across the business in order to attract the highest paying customers and to upsell them. So we're not just going to allocate advertising dollars evenly across all your channels, right? That wouldn't make any sense. What we want to do is answer the question as to what ratio of monies go into each one of my advertising channels in order to help me run the most profitable business possible. So again, we'll have a whole video devoted to this, but definitely one of the biggest concepts we'll cover. Cohort analysis, a subset of behavioral analysis that takes data from a given data set, and rather than looking at all users as one unit, it breaks them into related groups, like time period acquired in for analysis. I actually grabbed the cohort analysis just so you can see it. We'll come back to this later, of course, as well, but this is a cohort analysis around subscription. And you'll see, for example, that, okay, in March 2018, I acquired 11,233 new subscribers. In that same month 0 of March, 10,610 of those people let me stripe their credit card for the first time. And then in April, 9,901 of the 11,233 allowed me to stripe them for a second time. And now we can follow that cohort of people who bought first in March. We can actually follow that group of people over time to see their retention, right? So that's a cohort analysis. And again, we'll cover that in great detail as well. Lapse point, the amount of time a merchant has with a customer to upsell that customer before that customer is most likely not going to buy again. We're typically going to be talking about lapse point in the amount of days that you have to upsell a customer of yours. And we'll talk about how it's calculated and how to use it and all that good stuff when it comes to upselling and advertising. Lifetime product revenue. All the money a merchant has ever made off of a product ever. Interesting, right? This will be important for buying order spectrum analysis, another video that we'll cover. And it actually goes hand in hand with lifetime revenue. So all the money a merchant has ever made off of all the people who bought a product ever. Again, important for buying order spectrum analysis. We'll talk about the lifetime product revenue to lifetime revenue ratio and what that means in different circumstances. But very, very important number, and also probably one you won't find unless you're really a data scientist in this area or using Glew. Basket analysis, the one-to-one ratio of when people buy product X, how many other times are they buying product A, B, C, et cetera with it, right? So the more SKUs that you have, the more complicated this analysis becomes when it comes to bundling and upselling and new product development, et cetera. Glew provides some deep personalized automations using this data. And again, this will be referred to in the OSA portion of the video series. Sell-through rate, the turnover of the goods sold in a given time period over the amount that was in stock in the beginning of that time period. Interesting. So let's think about that equation. Sell-through rate, the amount sold in a given time period, okay, divided by the amount on hand in beginning of that time period. This is used to optimize the cash in a business. The idea is we don't want to lock up cash in products that no one wants, and we also don't want to be out of stock and miss out on demand for things people are willing to pay for. I will cover this in detail in the operations and merchandising video. Long story short though, the optimal sell-through rate is going to be 100%. If your sell-through rate's above 100%, that means you sold more than you had on hand and you missed out on the ability to make money. If your sell-through rate's below 100%, that means you are locking up your cash and things that no one wants anymore. That's not good either. So we need to make sure that we're right on the money, or if we're forecasting the delivery or the lead time of our products so that we can meet demand without locking up cash and things that nobody wants. Inventory velocity, the amount sold over the time period, right? So the units sold over a time period. How many units do you sell per day is really what this is. That's a great signal of demand, right? The higher that number, well, the more demand there is. Think of it this way. The amount of Santa hats you sell in December, or the inventory velocity for Santa hats in December, is going to be a lot higher than your inventory velocity for Santa hats in, let's say, March. So this will be a great way for us to calculate demand and also to calculate your depletion days. So your depletion days are the amount of days left of product in stock given demand, i.e. given inventory velocity. So think about that. The units in stock divided by inventory velocity. If I had 100 units in stock and I sell 10 per day, well, I have 10 days left of that product, right? So very helpful to forecast and manage cash flows. Holding cost, the amount of cash locked up in a given product. It'll be the amount of units in stock multiplied by your cost per goods sold. So the higher this number starts creeping up, the more likely you're going to be willing to discount and liquidate that product in order to turn that product into cash to invest it in other areas of your business. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. Opportunity cost, the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. Now we're getting into some super fun economic theory type stuff, but think of it this way. If you had a product that you could sell for full price, would you sell it at a discount? Of course not, right? That's opportunity cost. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to sell your full price products to full price customers, and we're going to want to sell your quote unquote discount products to people who would only buy when there's a discount in order to save the full price products for the full price customer. And this is a lot easier said than done, but the concept is super, super important when understanding how to become more profitable. Because once you sell that product at a discount to someone who only buys when there's a discount, is the minute you can't sell it at full price to someone who wants to buy it at full price. The opportunity never comes back. Little hardware type stuff for you. Data warehouse, we are what is called an intelligent data warehouse. What a data warehouse is, though, is a central repository or a server of integrated data from one or more disparate sources. So if I come up to something like this, which is on our website, we have all of your disparate data, and all of that data is being brought into one server. Think of like a data center, like literally a piece of hardware. And we run our intellectual property across your data in order to provide you the insights that we're going to talk about today. So kind of cool to move on beyond a metaphor and actually think of a data warehouse as a physical piece of infrastructure with our intellectual property in it. A business intelligence tool. A business intelligence tool is going to be a presentation layer or a piece of software used to run calculations, access the data, chart the data, and visualize the data. You know, Domo, Tableau, Looker, Click, Periscope, Power BI, Google Data Studio. There's hundreds and hundreds of business intelligence tools out there. Think of a business intelligence tool as an empty vessel that's useless without data and calculations to work on in that vessel. You know, a really, really straightforward business intelligence tool is actually Excel. In layman's terms, Excel is a great tool, but useless without data, calculations, and someone that knows how to use it. Or if you want to see a real business intelligence tool, I'll show you this thing called Mode, where I have my calculations in here, my data over here. We'll go into this a little bit later, but my point is that there's a million business intelligence tools out there. They're empty vessels. They have great features and such, but they will work with any industry, utility companies, law firms, healthcare systems, the Weather Channel, whatever it might be. And Glew actually is the data, the calculations, and all the important intellectual property needed in order to make something like this valuable to a vendor. So again, a lot of people get confused when it comes to business intelligence and BI tools, but just think of it as the presentation layer living in between your data warehouse and you, the person who's looking for visualizations to help them become more profitable. An API, this is kind of technical, a set of functions and procedures allowing the creation of applications that access the features or data of an operating system, application, or other service. Okay, so think of an API as these dotted lines, okay? It's how the data gets from the disparate source where it's living into a central place, or in this case, into the intelligent data warehouse. The BI tool will live over here in between the visualizations and the data warehouse on this side. But the API is how we get the data from wherever it is, point A, into point B, which is the actual hardware. You know, not going to speak too much about it, but at least you know what we're talking about when I ask, hey, this is the source of an API. Marketplace, an e-commerce site where third-party companies can sell their products or services to consumers. All of the transactions are processed through the website owner. The conclusion here is that marketplaces keep customer information private in return for absorbing the cost of large proportions of the sales and supply chain. Okay, what do I mean by that? Amazon. Amazon is a marketplace, right? You go on there, you sell your products, they do a hell of a lot of heavy lifting. They charge you high fees, but they also keep the email addresses or the customer information private from you, right? Jet.com, Newegg, Etsy, eBay, there's a ton of them. And we are very good at hooking into those marketplaces and crunching that data for you. But it's common practice to want to try to quote unquote win your customers back from your marketplace in order to increase your own profits. So marketplaces have a function. Don't get me wrong, they're important. But oftentimes what we're going to be doing is talking about how we get your customers back from an Amazon to increase your profitability. Point of sale is the physical terminal used to accept credit cards and cash in physical retail locations. So a true multi-channel business, a lot of them will have a POS presence, and that's another disparate data set that we can hook into and crunch numbers for. Oh, by the way, make sure you get that email address. We're going to need that email address for each one of your customers in order to provide you the deepest insights possible. Think about that, right? We need a data point to tie all the information back to. If you're not getting the email address when people check out, well, then we don't know who they are. So it's going to be really tough to calculate things like lifetime value if everyone in every transaction is an anonymous transaction. So make sure we get that email address pronto. And if you haven't been getting it, it's never too late to start. BOSA, buying order spectrum analysis. The order in which a specific merchant SKUs should be leveraged with the purpose of acquiring the highest paying customers and upselling those customers. Very, very important video here. It's not so easy, but definitely master going to be the fastest way to grow your business, at least in my opinion. A variant, a word used for a category of a product that a customer actually buys. So let's say I bought the blue Nike Air Force One size 7.5. That's a variant, where a configurable is going to be the parent product. Maybe the Nike Air Force Ones is the parent product that comes in all kinds of sizes and colors, but the variant is going to be what I actually buy. And people will want to crunch their data at a high level and probably toggle back and forth often, but at least we know what a variant and a configurable are. Depending on the cart system you use as well, you might get a simple here and maybe another word here, but the concept is the same. The parent product and the child product. Child is the variant, configurable is the parent. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be the end of our first video. Just a couple of quick definitions to get us started, and I'll see you around the corner on video too. See you soon.